Hi everyone, thanks for taking the time to join our webinar on KTern 101, the best way to plan an SAP S4HANA migration. My name is KTern and I'm the product marketer for KTern, the all-in-one product for SAP S4HANA conversion designed to automate and manage system conversions from start to finish. A few things to be noted before we get started. We'll be sending out a link to the recording of the webinar to everyone who has registered. It will also be available on our website at a later point in time. All participants have been muted upon entry. So please ask your questions where the questions start and we'll address them at the end of the webinar. The speakers for today's webinar are Vaidehi Srinivasan and Vignesh Virani. Vaidehi is an SAP S4HANA solution architect who has over 25 years of SAP expertise and is a product champion for KTern. Vignesh is the product engineer of KTern and will run through a demo of the product today. Now, without further ado, I hand over the webinar to Vaidehi.
Thank you, KTern, and good morning to all of you. Let's get right into the webinar at this time. Okay, primarily in today's webinar, this is what we would be covering. We'll start off with an introduction which would give you details on when and why should an ECC customer move to S4. And then we'll move on to the challenges and how KTern addresses these challenges. And then we'll walk you through the various assessment areas that KTern will take a look at and get into the detail there, followed by a KTern demo. At this point, I would like to open up for a quick poll where we would like to ask you what is the main challenge that you foresee in getting into this S4HANA journey. Thank you. I think the response that we received from the people who have joined this webinar today is about 38% of you feel that large customization is the biggest challenge. Another 20% believe the complex legacy system is a challenge that they would have to reckon with. So let's look at go into the details and according to SAP S4HANA Enterprise Management represents the most significant innovation in the SAP application spectrum since R3, which happened in 1992. And based on the in-memory SAP HANA database technology, the latest SAP Business Suite software is expected to provide customers with increased access to real-time data, improved integration with edge applications in the cloud, and new possibilities to incorporate the latest use cases in areas such as IoT and machine learning. And this is one of the major reasons why customers are starting to look at S4 more closely. And also that SAP's support for the current ECC platform, as well as for the third-party databases, in case you were on Oracle or SQL Server or any other non-SAP databases, that is planned to be stopped by 2025. And the move to S4HANA is largely seen by customers as an inevitable upgrade at this time, where the decision is only when and with what approach they'll make the move. It could be on the cloud or on the premise. It could be greenfield or brownfield. But how to keep these productive systems running? These are just a few of the questions that migration teams will face on their challenging path of the system conversion. Primarily, everybody agrees that S4HANA transformation is the key pillar, but this is just the beginning. Just getting to S4HANA doesn't completely digitally do that digital transformation. This is just the first step. What you see on this slide is the results of a recent survey conducted across a broad range of industries and geographies. From a regional standpoint, companies headquartered in the Europe, US, South America and Asia Pacific participated, with Europe and US representing the largest groups respectively. So if you look at the migration date to S4HANA, about 20% have already migrated. Another fifth are currently not considering the migration by. This would mean that by 2020, almost 70% of surveyed companies will have migrated. And if this plan works out, you can imagine the number of conversions that will be happening this year and the next. What these graphs tells us is that the move to S4HANA is inevitable. It is only a matter of time before customers will take the plunge. And a bulk of them are at a stage trying to understand and assess the complexity before the game begins. So why is this assessment important? What should customers and partners be aware of before they embark on this journey? So the next 20 minutes, what we plan is we look at the assessment, why we should do an assessment, and how this assessment should typically be done. And when this assessment is done, how it alleviates the problems that you would face when you actually do the conversion. So primarily when you start with S4 conversion and go through the Activate methodology, you would see that there are various areas that are points of concern. Primarily the custom code analysis and adaptation, the testing issues and defects handling, and the accuracy of converted data, and collaborating, and also the timeline adherence. So, but in the discover phase, if you're able to completely assess the complexity of your system and the effort estimation and resource mapping, it will make the conversion a lot easier. So based on the survey, what we have also understood is the custom code management is a key in doing a successful conversion. Also test management, because here when you move from ECC to S4, what happens is the data structure, underlying data structure changes. So when the underlying data structure changes, you can imagine the level of complexity and the extent of testing that will have to be done. And again, when you go to S4HANA, you have the choice to move on to the Fiori interface, and that will involve end user training and also identifying the right Fiori applications to be activated. And data management. With the amount of data that you've accumulated over many years, and also once you've migrated, the data validation that you would have to do, and the business downtime. This is one of the key factors, and the better you do the conversions and the more number of times you do the mock runs, it will make your business downtime much lesser, and that would ensure the success of the project. So what are the conversion challenges that any customer would face? Primarily, like you people rightly said, the complexities of the landscape. So when I mean the complexities of the landscape, it's primarily all the interfaces that you're connected to, the number of third-party applications that you have, the data transfer between even your SAP landscape. So that is very complex, because anything that you change in the core, which is currently now your ECC, which would later be your S4, you would want to make sure that everything works perfectly. The second is customization. With respect to customization, over the years, a lot of processes would be customized. What happens in that case is many of the customizing programs are you would not be using them at all. It just so happened that you've built in all that into the system and you've been carrying that load all along. So if you did an assessment and identified all the unused customization and what you really required, and this gives you an opportunity to clean that up as well. And then the business processes. How harmonized are your business processes? If you had an idea about that, possibly after you've converted to S4, you would also be able to harmonize these business processes once you get into the stable phase. And lack of landscape awareness, primarily when you have been developing these landscape over many years, and lots of people have come in and left the organization. So there is no one person or one single place where you have a complete detail of the entire landscape. So that in that way, when you do an assessment, you come to understand what is available in the system. And then how you plan the project, because this is not like a typical technical upgrade or a EHP upgrade. What happens is a lot more. So the project planning and the approach you take to the conversion is very critical. And then the dual development strategy. Why that is important is you already have a live system running. You need business as usual to continue. So you would need a second layer of systems, a development, a QA, and or possibly a multiple QA systems also, to enable you to continue with this project, and so that you don't affect the business as usual. And then test cycles. Like I already mentioned, testing is very, very important, and you'll have to do the right kind of tests with the right people who conduct the test, and you will have to manage the whole thing to ensure the success of the project. The more you test during the project, the less pain that you would have after the go live. And once you've identified the custom code, what is very critical is the custom code remediation, because now you'll have to adapt it to the S4 data structure, and just remediation is not sufficient, and you'll have to test them as well. And most of these custom codes are not just standalone programs. They are enhancements, they're bodies which have been called from standard SAP transactions. So that means you will have to have an end-to-end understanding of how these custom codes are deviating the current standard processes. And then during the assessment, unless you have the stakeholder buy-in, you would not be able to take the project successfully to completion. And then the kind of skills that you need, both from the customer side and also from your SIs, the system integrators. Unless you have the right skills and the knowledge and the right people in the project, you will not be able to successfully do the project, because you don't want people on the project trying to learn something new and executing it. And project planning, I cannot stress, project planning is very key about the success of the project. The reason being, you have multiple stakeholders taking part in the project. Primarily the consultants who are involved in the project, the end users who would be part of your testing. You would have SAP, because you would need to go to SAP to resolve some of your issues, and you have the system integrators. And if you already know ahead of time how much involvement you need from the business, it would be able to help you get the business buy-in a lot easier. And then the end user enablement. This is very important, that you know how much of enablement has to happen at the end user level, because that way you can plan your training schedule as well. And then the change management strategy. This is a change in the application. This is a change in some of the processes. So you would have to devise a strategy on how you plan to push the complete change through the organization. And last but not least, the infrastructure design. Most customers who are currently on ECC, if you're not already on HANA, now you're going to have a redesign of your infrastructure. So you're going to have HANA appliances. You'll have to understand how to manage those HANA appliances, and also how big your appliance should be, the sizing, the growth, and so on. So these are the basic conversion challenges that prevent customers to take the plunge right away. So the more we delay it, it's going to get more difficult. The reason being, you're going to be in short supply of consultants, in short supply of providers who could do this conversion later as we get closer to 2025. So moving on, I would like to open up the stage for one more question, where I would like to understand how you think a tool can help you alleviate these challenges and move forward. Thank you for that. About 76% of you said that a tool would definitely help, and actually speaking, that's the answer we expected as well, because we do have a tool that would alleviate your challenges as we move forward. So here I am introducing you to KTern, which is a product that could be used for the S4 conversion. It has multiple modules which will automate and manage the transition from ECC to S4 HANA. It completely follows the SAP Activate methodology, so you're on track, and you've been on the SAP using SAP ECC for a while, so you understand the SAP language, and we do too. And so this is the first of a kind product which is going to help us to do S4 conversions. And primarily it helps you do the conversion faster. You're able to do it with less challenges, and you're able to handle the entire project using the tool, and you have a single portal, be it a project manager, a consultant, or the testing team. All of us have a single portal where you're able to complete the project successfully and on time. Also, the tool provides a S4 HANApedia, which is like an encyclopedia of all the possible issues that you would face during a conversion, and also suggestions when you come into defects. So this has been put together with the number of conversions that has been done earlier, and this provides you with the intelligence to be able to get through hurdles much faster. So for each of the conversion challenges that we discussed, KTern comes up with a solution. Primarily, so let's talk about the landscape assessment. KTern does a complete assessment of the landscape prior to the start of the assessment. So that's the first step in the assessment. It gets all the information from the landscape, starting from the users, starting from the business process, starting from the scenarios that should be tested, and also the size and the custom code and whatnot. And with respect to the transports, it comes up and looks at the history of the transports, and this helps us to manage your change a lot better. And with respect to the testing, it comes up with test recommendations on the test cases and scenarios that should be tested. And it gives you areas where you can clean up logs, clean up the areas in the database that are not required to be held, thereby reducing the size of the system, and also be able to help you size the system a lot better. The biggest impact I would see here is how it helps us do the effort estimation, and also identifies the stakeholders who should take part in the testing and in the custom code remediation. Because once you have developed a lot of custom code, there would be some history behind what is done. Many customers do have this documentation, but definitely getting involved with people who develop the application would help us understand this a lot better. And with respect to project planning, you're able to get a complete L1 plan at the end of an assessment exercise, and training recommendations on areas that the end users should be trained on. The demo that would follow would go through each of these areas and give you more insight into how these are going to help alleviate your challenges. That's the reason I just touch upon these, so you would see them live in action when the demo is done. So in addition to the assessment, primarily the assessment handles the three areas on the bottom left: the impact analysis, the roadmap guide, and the effort estimation. In addition to that, what you also have from KTern is a comprehensive test suite, a comprehensive project management suite, a data management suite, which helps you in the data validation post the migration, a custom code management, which helps you remediate the custom code from the ECC structure to the S4 structure, which is automated here, and issue tracking and management, wherein you can track your issues, be it issues that you face during the project or issues that come up during the defect testings, during the test cycles, where those would be identified as defects. Then the landscape and system management to ensure that the system is up and running and available post go live as well. And business process optimization, where it helps you identify the various changes in business processes that have occurred as a result of the S4 conversion. Then the license audit and optimization, wherein we look at the user history, look at the users, the active users, and so on. And the training launchpad, by looking at the usage of transactions in your system, identifying what are the training that is required for each of groups of end users, and also providing that training information. So this is in all the modules of KTern, but for this webinar, we are concentrating on the assessment, which is the first step into this journey of conversion to S4. So primarily, if I start from the upper right, once the readiness assessment is done, it reduces the cycle time of your project, and also the actual readiness which is done during with KTern is a lot more efficient, and it's 54% reduces the timeline by about 54%. Also, it gives a more comprehensive technical, functional, and business impact analysis. Some of these you would be thinking that you already have them from SAP. Yes, some of it is available, but the depth of detail, the detail that KTern goes into to give you information in each of these areas would definitely go a long ways. And also all this is found in one single place rather than you having to hunt around various SAP websites to be able to get that information. And many customers, once they get that information, they do not know how to make the next step. So what we do is we've already given you a project plan post that, so you know the next step and how to go about that. And this is completely done with the Activate methodology, and you would see KTern pitching in and adding value to every phase in the conversion project. And the custom code remediation, the ability to correct up to 50+ custom programs per hour would definitely speed up your custom program remediation process, and the automated test case generation and also the testing. Some of these test cases are also automatically tested and the results available on KTern. And the data validation, which is generally done post-migration between the ECC and the S4 system. So these are primarily the 6 USPs that I would see in KTern as compared to multiple products that are available in the market, but each of them might do one or two of these features. But this is a lot more comprehensive in terms of being able to address every single aspect. And in addition to what the technical areas and the business areas, it also provides you a complete project management suite where you're able to manage the project, thereby ensuring timely phase closures, and you're able to control the project from multiple perspectives. So be it a project manager, a consultant, a test manager, or an integration manager, an architect, all these stakeholders who take part in this project, each of them have their own dashboards, their KPIs, so they're able to track the project from start to finish without much difficulty. So again, going back to the assessment, so that was at a higher level on the other modules of KTern as well. Again, the assessment primarily aims to get the customer build a business case which he can take to the business to get an approval to move forward. So we would, I'm sure most of you would have by now understood that just getting into KTern is not an IT decision. It is a business decision. You need the buy-in of your business, because you're going to involve your business. It's a change in process, change in product, a lot of investment. And by doing this transformation, once you have taken the first step into S4, the further journey into this transformation journey makes it a lot easier. So KTern also provides you a roadmap on how you get to get the other digital transformation areas also activated. So primarily the objectives of an assessment are it studies the assets ECC landscape. Then it provides you the to-be scenario in the S4 system, identifies the various landscape strategy, the testing strategy, the dual landscape, how you handle the change management strategy, and also builds an L1 project plan and timeline for the S4 conversion. At this point, primarily, if you were to do it without KTern, what primarily happens is you will have to put in a bunch of notes into your system and then involve multiple people, both from the functional, technical basis, and try to get a picture about what is in your system and how it's going to affect, how that is going to get affected in a conversion. Whereas KTern, you're able to do it with much faster, within a matter of days, and you get this information out in the form of a guide, in the form of a PowerPoint, and also a document. At this point, I will hand it off to my colleague, Vignesh, who would go through a KTern demo where you would get to see all the areas of assessment that KTern does. And just to reiterate, this is just one module of KTern that we are seeing today. Further webinars would address the future modules. So those modules would come into play once you get into a conversion cycle. This step is just to get you a business buy-in to start the conversion. So thanks for listening. And at this point, I hand it off to Vignesh to show you a demo. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Vaidehi. That was pretty insightful about the challenges during an S4HANA conversion. Hello, gentlemen. I'd like to start with the KTern demo right now. So let's just get started. So we've got the demo application loading right now, and I could see two projects up here. So let's launch one main project in here. So we are now in an assessment project, and now I want to run the impact analysis module of KTern against my system, for which I got to have my system connected to KTern, right? So I go to my landscape management. Well, yeah, I've got my system connected here through a socket. And the best part about KTern is that you don't have to install any third-party or foreign objects into a production landscape. So you get this analysis. All you got to do is download a KTern connector, which is a small socket application, which I have downloaded already. And I'll just get on to the phase kernel, where I run all the KTern activities relating to an assessment project. So like how Vaidehi said, KTern follows an activate methodology, which means we are in discover phase, and which is primarily around assessment of the system and understanding how the landscape would behave when moving to S4HANA. So we have subdivided the discover phase into three main subphases: the strategic planning, the application value and scoping, and the trial system provisioning. Strategic planning is something where you talk about building an innovation roadmap and a digital transformation roadmap for your landscape, which has got a series of activities which SAP recommends you to follow so that you achieve a huge digital transformation roadmap for your landscape. The application value and scoping, which is the crux of the whole assessment study, involves understanding your landscape, understanding the readiness of your SAP ERP, so as to understand how ready is your landscape to your S4HANA. So let's just get into the magic which KTern does for you. So let's get into this, check the readiness of your SAP ERP system. Looks like I've got multiple task lists to be done against this particular task object. So let me start with the simplification item check. So simplifications are something which SAP has introduced into when talking about SAP S4HANA. The SAP S4HANA has brought in a lot of simplification technically, functionally, and these simplifications involve right from changes in a data structure to that of changing the whole business process itself, starting from the financial closings and even to MATNR data domain change. These simplifications are the ones which define the complexity of your SAP migration project. Looks like I've got 263 relevant simplification items here. And I also get a statistical view of the status of the simplification item. Few could be strategically important to me. Few could have a functionality which is not, for which there is no equivalent at all. Those are the things which I should focus on prominently. And there are functionalities for which an alternative exists, and there will be functionalities which I have to abide by, and I have to modify my business process for that. So what more? I get a list of simplification items in here. I understand why it's relevant to my system. I also have a SAP note link attached to it. And the best part is I have it segregated by the line of business. This way I can have my stakeholders act on it individually. Let's go back. So with the simplification items done, I'll move on to my next line item, which is the add-on analytics. So add-ons are the main business drivers for an enterprise ERP, because they have been, with our experience, we have found out many enterprises relying on a third-party add-on which drives their businesses. And these NetWeaver add-ons typically work on the ECC data structure. With S4, there's a change in data structure, which means the compatibility of these add-ons have to be analyzed before making a move, because the add-on which you totally rely on for your business can go incompatible when you move to S4, which means there's a showstopper. So we try to understand the compatibility of your third-party add-ons or the SAP add-ons itself, so that we get a telescopic view of how these add-ons will react when moving to S4. So I've got 185 software components and 23 installed products in my landscape. And I also have a definition and a statistical view of these component types. So scrolling down a bit, I get the list of all the add-ons installed in my landscape. So let's go back. So the next thing is the business function analytics. These business functions are these specialized business functions created by SAP so that it could address the industrial needs of an industry-specific enterprise. And when talking about business functions, the software update manager of SAP, which is the one which converts your ECC landscape to the S4HANA landscape, can actually turn off few business functions and make them into an always off state. These always off states are the ones which means those business functions will not behave when moving into S4. What if there is an active business function in your landscape and some turns it off? It means a serious problem to it, for which you either have to have a stakeholder buy-in that this business function may not be required for your landscape, or you got to wait for SAP until it makes this always off state for your business function into an always on state. So I get my 193 active business functions, under which I get what their types are. I also get a next step what I should do based on the results I have. And scrolling down a bit, I get a list of all business functions activated in my system. Yeah, we're getting into the most interesting part, the custom code management. Like how you guys mentioned in the poll about how important customizations are for a landscape, we understand as well. Customizations are the main reason businesses thrive, and it is an investment which the customer and the system integrator has put in over the years in terms of time, money, and the transport of objects itself. So these customizations are the one which will break the most when moving into S4. So what can KTern do about this? So let's see that right now. So I've got a few impacted objects from my landscape. So let's see what this object has got. Oh, looks like I've got 10 impacted cases, out of which 10 could be auto-corrected by KTern itself. And the impact status is good enough that I can proceed moving this custom object into S4. So what more? Scrolling down a bit, I get the whole custom code on my screen alongside an impact which will make this custom code misbehave. So what is this impact about? Oh, looks like I get a tooltip about what this impact is and a green thumbs up. Great. It gets automatically fixed when moving to S4 using the KTern's custom code management. And I would not want to go deeper into this custom code management because this is a separate webinar topic by itself. I get a post-remediation view of how the custom code object would look like. Looks like it is being auto-remediated by KTern itself. Nice. That's a great thing to have. Let's move on. I've got to perform VWX Factor checks. Enterprises which have got BW enabled in their landscape actually mean that you will have BW data sources collecting data from your ECC landscape and having it posted in your BW HANA system. Just like how add-ons were working, these BW extractors will rely on the application layer, which depends on the ECC data structure. Now that they have changed during the conversion, they may misbehave and you may not have your BW system working properly. So it is absolutely a necessary thing to do to analyze your impacted BW data sources and act on it. So looks like I've got 14 BW data sources that are getting impacted, out of which, oh my God, I've got one particular BW data source which is not going to work. maybe I should do something about it. So let's just see what that business particular thing is that. I get a status on what those business functions are, and I found out, looks like there's a data source which is not working. So I can act on it, but yeah, like I said, I don't want to get into the project management framework. We can have it as a separate discussion by itself for the next webinar topic. The TR analytics. Like how Vaidehi mentioned, the dual development strategy is one main thing to adopt when you move to S4, because this typically S4 conversion projects follow a dual development strategy, which means you will have your ECC landscape running, where you will have constant movement of transport requests from your dev system to your production system. If that's so, there is a dynamic environment where your production landscape gets multiple custom code objects based on your release strategy. And how would the project accommodate those constantly increasing custom code objects in the landscape? It actually means the project might be never ever ending. So for this particular main reason, there is a call for this dev freeze, where you got to choose a point where you stop moving these additional custom objects into your production landscape, so you have a stable environment on which you can do your custom code remediation and have your S4HANA live. So KTern helps you understand the TR moment and the release strategy of your landscape, so that you can take a call on when to call a dev freeze, so that the project is much more successful. And I also get to understand the major the stakeholders for the conversion, so that they could be the SPOC for the transport repository management. Let's move on. Archiving recommendations. Typically, enterprises eyeing S4HANA conversion also believe, alongside the upgrade, cleansing their landscape could be one major strategy, because over the period of years and decades, there could be tons and tons of custom code accumulated on the landscape with so much of unused transactional and log data that could be cleansed up before moving to S4. This way, this archiving recommendation will provide you an insight on how much of data you could archive before moving to S4. This way, you can also reduce the initial target size of your HANA box, and as well as simplifying the duration of the sum uptime and the downtime as well. So I get the list of custom code object recommendations, which helps me understand all the tables, all the documents, all the custom packages I can archive before moving to S4. Well, the test case recommendations. Typically, S4 projects means testing, because there are changes in business processes, which means there should be a rigorous test cycle with sprint plans planned, so that you have a complete test documentation of your conversion project. That way, you will have lesser pain after you go live during the run phase. KTern connects to your system, literally slices and dices your business processes, understands the business processes which is totally relevant to your system, comes up with a plan under which you will have multiple scenarios, under which you will have a test case generated out of your master data and your customizing data configurations. And how we act on this test cases comes as a part of test case management. And KTern also provides you an insight on how you can reduce your total cost of ownership by doing a user license optimization recommendations. Typically, all you got to do is convert your ECC licenses into S4 licenses when you move to S4. But then if you could identify when and how you can actually reduce the total license cost by understanding the inactive users or the logged out user, you need not have to pay for those particular licenses, and this way you will have an optimization on the license cost. And 101 inactive users actually means I have a considerable reduction in my license costs. I get my inactive users here. Okay, so I ran these reports. What next? Yes, KTern understands these results from your landscape. It also comes up with furthermore parameterizations like if your system is Unicode, if you've got GL account enabled, and based on these results, it curates an L1 plan for you and hands it over to you right now, which you see on the screen. It comes up with the duration of the project, a possible start date and a possible end date, and a high-level L1 roadmap, which you can consider while moving to S4. And like how Vaidehi mentioned, the more the number of mock runs, the more the reduction in the business downtime. And KTern looks like KTern also recommends the number of mock runs which I have to go through so that I have safe S4HANA journey. Okay, I've got the plan, I've got the results. Now it's all about creating a project team and grouping all the resources. So how do you think KTern can help in this? We've got the effort estimation module, like how the project planning works. The effort estimation module is fed with the inputs which came as a result of impact analysis and few other parameters which go into this particular module, and we get these results as which is shown to you right now. So that's all for the application demo. I would like to go back to the presentation. So all these results need to be presented for the stakeholder buy-in, right? So I've got an assessment PPT coming up, which is curated right from the application. And I'll just brush up on these so that we can head furthermore. An overview of the simplification item list, the business process analytics, the VWX Factor relevancy, which we saw in the application, the custom object analytics based on the forms, code, dictionary objects, and miscellaneous objects as well, the enhancements and modifications reports, who should be my top stakeholders, the add-on analytics, the business function analytics, and the interfaces and the connections which should be reviewed before moving to S4. The TR report analytics as well. Let's go back to the main slide. So I've got something more for you as well. That being a high-level presentation which could be presented to the business, I've also got something which is the need of an hour. A well-documented PDF document which could be archived for the audit purpose, which literally tells every activity made on the landscape for this particular assessment study, what are the results of it, and what are the business decisions taken out of it. And this looks like a huge 126-page document, which literally covers every assessment activity to be done using KTern, a well-documented result out of it, with everything covered. Looks like this could be the need of an hour for any enterprise considering S4HANA conversion. I would like to go back to the main slide and hand it over to Vaidehi, so we move on.
Thanks, Vignesh, and it was a lot of detail that you showed us, and I'm sure the people who are listening in this webinar would like to have a little more detail on what this actually does. Primarily, gentlemen and ladies, what we try to achieve is to put the assessment as a package and provide it as an automated tool, wherein you have every single piece of information on your fingertips when you go in for a business approval, and also be able to remove the challenges and the risks before you enter into a S4 conversion project. So at this point, if any of you would like to have a full demo of KTern, what you saw is just the assessment. We have a lot more in terms of the modules that we would use during the conversion. So if you have If you would like to have a full demo of the complete KTern, then please do let us know. I'm opening it up for a poll now. We could work with each of you and possibly connect your system and see how it works as well. We could do, and there is a trial demo available, which you could log on and get it done from the website. That would not give you all the features, so but if you would like to see a complete demo, then we would be more than happy to help you there. Post this. If you have any questions, please do raise them and I'll try to address them in the next 10 minutes. And those questions that I'm unable to answer, we will get back to you post the demo through email. How many modules are in the tool? There are 12 modules in the tool, one of which is the assessment which you saw just now, and the other modules being the test management, the custom code management, the training module, the test management, and so on. Project or transformation. Just hold on while I get an understanding of the next question. You mentioned about licensing. The question is that I mentioned about licensing around the inactive users. Do you look at the license cost for S4 features, simplification, and add-ons to identify additional license costs for the project transformation? We don't typically look at your add-ons because primarily even SAP licensing, you would work with your account manager, and each license model that SAP has for their customers is very different. So we don't work on the additional cost, license costs. The next question I have is, can we schedule a complete demo for another date? Yes, we are planning for it. The plan is do it module wise, but if you would like to do a complete demo, it could not be accomplished in 1 hour. So for a complete demo, we'll definitely get in touch with you one-on-one and be able to help you there. How much time and cost does an assessment take? The assessment typically takes about three weeks, wherein one to 2 weeks, wherein we connect to the system, get all this information, and then we would come back to you with business workshops if required. So we would be able to accomplish this in maximum of about 3 weeks. The cost, I think we will work with you depending on your complexity. I would not be able to discuss the cost model, licensing model here. We can send you an email and give you the details. The next question I have is whether this would address the S/4HANA on-premise or also the cloud. The product also supports move to S/4HANA public cloud. The next question I have from one of the people who attended the webinar is, after assessment, what next? The product is built to encapsulate the whole S/4HANA conversion project here, which means KTern helps provide continuity into the actual conversion by upgrading you from assessment tier to the conversion tier. So once the assessment is done, and if you're ready to go ahead with the conversion, the rest of the modules of KTern automatically kick in, and we can start with the conversion based on the approvals. And the results from the assessments and the final decisions are intact, so you get a head start with respect to your conversion. The next question I have is, in terms of impact, do you look at this from a value management perspective? Yes, we do look at it from a value management perspective, trying to understand the business processes and the KPIs and how it would affect, how it would benefit when you move to S4. And I think we are running out of time here, so I would like to conclude this webinar. And thanks again for joining us and staying with us through the presentation and the demo. We look forward to connecting with you based on your response, and we are sure we'll be able to help you do a smooth conversion as you move forward. Thank you again. Have a good day.